I should have been crying tears of joy at my wedding. But instead, I was frozen, clutching my bouquet, listening to my mother tell my new husband's parents that the wedding gift meant for me should have gone to my sister. "Your sister deserves the car, not you," she said, smiling like she'd just made a polite suggestion, not shattered me in front of everyone. That was the moment my wedding day stopped being about love, and became the day I realized my mother never saw me as enough. My name is Clara Hayes, 28, newly married, or at least trying to feel like it. My husband Daniel comes from a warm, generous family. When his parents gifted us a brand new white Lexus as a wedding present, I was stunned. But before I could even thank them, my mom, Margaret Hayes, stepped in like it was her place. "Oh, that's so lovely. But don't you think Emily deserves something too? She's the younger sister, after all. She needs encouragement to find a man like Daniel someday." Everyone laughed awkwardly, assuming it was a joke. It wasn't. Emily, my sister, didn't laugh either. She just looked down, pretending to blush. I saw the smirk she tried to hide. She'd been the golden child since we were kids. The prettier one, the talented one. The one Mom bragged about at every family dinner. I was always the backup plan, the one expected to share, to step aside, to stay quiet. And for years, I did. I let Emily borrow my clothes, my car, even my college scholarship once, because Mom said, "You'll get another chance. Clara, don't be selfish." But standing there in my white dress, in front of guests and cameras, her words cut deeper than ever. Emily deserves it more. I smiled through it, like the obedient daughter she raised me to be. But inside something cracked, something that had been waiting years to break. After the ceremony, Daniel noticed. He asked quietly, "Why did she say that?" I shrugged, pretending not to care. But when his parents pulled me aside later, apologizing for the awkward moment, I saw the pity in their eyes, and I swore I'd never be pitied again. That night, after everyone left, I caught Emily in the parking lot, sitting inside my wedding gift, running her fingers over the steering wheel. She grinned when she saw me. "Just wanted to see how it feels," she said. "You don't mind, right? Mom said I could take it for a spin." My heart went cold. I didn't say anything. Not yet, but as I watched her drive off in the car meant for me, something inside me shifted, from hurt to something far more dangerous. Because my mom and sister thought they could embarrass me, manipulate me, and still walk away smiling. They were wrong, and one day soon, that smile would be the last one they ever wore. I used to think my mother's favoritism was just motherly bias. You know, every parent has a favorite, even if they swear they don't. But after the wedding, it stopped being bias. It became something darker. It started the morning after the ceremony. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Don't be dramatic about the car thing, Clara. You know Emily's struggling. Be the bigger person. Be the bigger person." That phrase was my childhood lullaby. When Emily crashed my old Honda, I was the bigger person. When she dated my ex-boyfriend in college, I was the bigger person. And now, she'd taken the car my in-laws gave me, and I was expected to smile. Daniel tried to calm me down. "She's just trying to keep the peace," he said gently. "But peace doesn't feel like being erased." Over the next few weeks, I started noticing the patterns. Mom called me less, but called Emily every day. When we did talk, she'd slip in little comments like, "Emily's working so hard lately. You should help her out financially. You two are family." Or, "Don't make her feel jealous, Clara. She's sensitive." Sensitive? Emily was the one who posted pictures online of her posing with my car, captioned, "So grateful for family blessings." Like she'd earned it. When I confronted her, she just laughed. "Relax, sis. It's just a car. You have Daniel. You have your fancy new life. Let me have something." That's what she always said. Let me have something. But somehow, that something was always mine. One night, Daniel overheard a phone call between Mom and Emily. I only caught pieces, but one line stuck out. "Don't worry, sweetheart. She won't find out about the insurance papers." When I asked what that meant, they both denied it. Mom claimed I was being paranoid. "You've always had a suspicious nature, Clara. Maybe you're just not used to sharing." Sharing? They made it sound like generosity. But every shared thing I gave up ended up permanently in Emily's hands. My clothes, my car, my opportunities, even my peace. The tension began seeping into my marriage. Daniel wanted to help, but how do you explain a lifetime of manipulation that hides behind polite smiles and motherly hugs? He saw my mom as caring. He saw my sister as sweet. I saw the truth. Two women tightening a noose of guilt around my neck, one favor at a time. And yet part of me still wanted to believe I was wrong. That maybe it wasn't deliberate. That maybe my family wasn't planning something cruel. But deep down, I felt it. The way Mom's tone shifted when she said Emily's name. The way Emily's smirk lingered too long whenever Daniel entered the room. Something was happening. Something I wasn't supposed to see. And the worst part? They thought I never would. It hit me like a punch in the chest when I finally understood the depth of the betrayal. I had always assumed the car incident at my wedding was just one cruel, thoughtless comment from Mom. A bad joke disguised as concern for Emily. But it wasn't a joke. And it wasn't random. A week after the wedding, I got the mail. Insurance documents, registration papers, and a note from my husband's parents confirming everything was under my name. I glanced over the forms, expecting relief. Instead, I saw something that froze my blood. Mom had forged my signature on a separate insurance transfer, shifting the car temporarily into Emily's name for convenience. And that was only the start. I started digging. Emails between Emily and Mom revealed a coordinated plan. They had been preparing for months, plotting which gifts and assets from the wedding registry could be diverted to Emily, from jewelry to electronics to family heirlooms. Even Daniel's parents' generosity had been manipulated. Emily had been the golden beneficiary of every decision Mom made, and they'd carefully hidden it from me under the guise of sharing and family love. The heartbreak hit first. I had trusted them both, my mother, who was supposed to be my protector, and my sister, my lifelong companion. Now I realized everything they had ever done in my presence. The compliments, the guidance, the warm smiles had been a calculated performance. Then came the rage. I wanted to scream in the middle of the living room, in front of my husband, the wedding photographer who had sent me photos, everyone. I wanted to demand why they had done this, why they had schemed against me when all I ever did was follow the rules. Respect them, love them, but I didn't, not yet. Instead, I sat in stunned silence, staring at the car keys now technically in Emily's possession. Every family gathering I had endured, every shared secret, every favor I'd quietly given, it all fell into place. Mom had spent years grooming Emily to always be first, to always get the reward, while I was expected to be grateful for scraps. I felt my hands shake as I reread the emails. Emily's smug comments, Mom's polite encouragement, the detailed plan of how to keep Clara calm and unsuspecting. It was meticulous, almost surgical. And then the thought hit me. If they could steal my wedding gift, what else had they already taken? My heartbreak turned into icy determination. I wasn't naive anymore. I wouldn't just sit and watch as they continued to take from me. No, I would make sure every act of betrayal, every manipulation, every lie, every stolen moment came back to them. And this time, there would be no pretending, no smiling through the pain, because the next move would be mine. For days, I wandered through our apartment in a fog, the betrayal playing over and over in my mind like a broken record. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily grinning in my new car, Mom's smug face hovering nearby, as if they had rehearsed the perfect crime for years. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and Daniel's attempts to comfort me felt powerless against the storm inside. One evening, I found myself back at the wedding venue. Everything was quiet, the decorations packed away, the scent of roses fading. I sat on the edge of the empty stage, hands gripping the polished wood, and I asked myself, what am I doing? Sitting here, letting them win? It hit me then, sharp and cold. They had only power because I gave it to them. Every generous smile, every sacrifice, every ignored slight had been permission for their manipulation. I had been the obedient daughter, the tolerant sister, the woman who swallowed hurt and nodded politely. But I wasn't her anymore. I wasn't the girl who accepted injustice as a way of keeping peace. I realized my grief had to become fuel. My tears had to become fire. That night, I made a decision. I would reclaim everything they tried to take from me, not through yelling or confrontation, but through strategy, patience, and precision. This wouldn't be petty revenge. This would be poetic, and it would be mine. The first step was clarity. I began writing everything down. Every instance of favoritism, every manipulated gift, every lie I had caught or suspected. I created timelines, detailed notes, and collected every proof I could find. Each memory became a weapon, each email or text a piece of evidence waiting to be revealed. Then came the second step, self-reclamation. I started focusing on myself, my career, my finances, my confidence. I enrolled in a design workshop, reconnected with clients I had long neglected, and rebuilt my network quietly. I wasn't just preparing to expose them. I was preparing to rise above them, to become untouchable in ways they never imagined. The final trigger moment came unexpectedly. I was scrolling through photos from the wedding when I saw Emily's smug smile in my car again, the exact expression she had worn when Mom had suggested the gift should be hers. Something in me snapped. The grief, the humiliation, the anger, it crystallized into one sharp, unwavering thought. They think they can steal from me, humiliate me, and walk away smiling. They are wrong. From that moment on, I didn't feel hurt. I felt determined. Every action, every step I would take from now on had a purpose. Mom and Emily had underestimated me for the last time. And when I acted, they would see just how unstoppable I had become. Revenge, I decided, would not be loud. It would be meticulous. A quiet unmasking built from facts, timing, and the kind of patience that makes people think the truth was always accidental. I stopped plotting scenes in my head and started building a list. Step by step, like an engineer drafting a bridge that would one day collapse their world. Step 1. Document everything. I printed the forged insurance transfer. I saved screenshots of Emily's social posts showing off family blessings. I archived text threads where Mom casually suggested small favors and then followed up with duplicity. I labeled each file with dates and short explanations because emotion makes for messy evidence. Clarity makes for conviction. Step 2. Reclaim control of the narrative. I quietly messaged Daniel's parents, explaining that I had questions about the registration and offering to handle any paperwork going forward. I framed it as practical, just to keep things tidy. They gladly deferred. That gave me two things: access to official documents and the ability to correct the public record if I needed to later. Small administrative wins felt like leverage. Step 3. Find witnesses. I reached out to distant relatives and family friends who had been present at showers, pre-wedding dinners, and small gatherings. Most dismissed me with gentle platitudes, but a few remembered odd remarks, offhanded gifts, and Mom's tendency to manage presents. They agreed to write short statements if ever called upon. People like corroboration. They also like not being complicit. Once they saw the paper trail, a couple quietly admitted they'd always suspected favoritism. Step 4. Secure the money trail. I tracked the registry disbursements and asked, under the guise of gratitude letters, for copies of receipts. A friendly bank manager I'd once helped with a pro bono logo quietly ran a history for me. Transfers, holds, temporary beneficiary changes. There it was, patterns of convenient transfers whenever a gift arrived. The numbers didn't lie. Step 5. Set the bait. If Mom and Emily believed themselves untouchable, vanity was their blind spot. I created a curated thank you post, vague, gracious, and intentionally public, hinting that I was thinking of reallocating some registry gifts to charity since we had been so blessed. I made sure Emily saw it. I knew she couldn't resist performing generosity while keeping the reward. That performance would give me the public breadcrumb I needed. Step 6. Line up a controlled reveal. I contacted a local consumer journalist known for civil disputes and a lawyer who specialized in family fraud. I didn't intend to file a lawsuit unless necessary. Sometimes the mere prospect of legal scrutiny is enough to topple reputations. They agreed to look over the files once I delivered a clean packet: dates, evidence, witnesses. All the while, life flowed around them. Mom continued her calls, warm and controlling. Emily posted pictures, smiling in the Lexus as if she'd always owned it. They felt in control, which made them careless. The more confident they were, the more mistakes they made. A forwarded email left visible. A flippant voicemail. A poorly deleted draft. Night, as I sealed the final envelope, copies for the lawyer, the journalist, Daniel's parents, and an anonymous drop for Mom, my hands didn't tremble. They were steady, shockingly calm. I slid the packet into a padded envelope, addressed one copy to the family home, and left it on my kitchen table like a loaded question. They thought they'd bought a future with my silence. I thought, with a small, cold smile, that silence was the perfect weapon. Next, execute the reveal. Timed so their smiles would break in front of everyone. They looked untouchable. Mom in her careful pearls, Emily in my wedding dress's shadow, all smiles and practiced gratitude. They still believed the world was arranged exactly how they wanted it. Clara meek, Emily adored, Margaret the kindly orchestrator. That confidence was my last best advantage. I chose the Sunday after Christmas. Daniel's parents had invited us to a small family brunch to celebrate the season. I accepted, smiling like someone who had forgiven too quickly. Behind my smile, the lawyer and the journalist I'd contacted were already in the guest list, quietly seated, phones down, expressions neutral. The journalist had a camera. The lawyer carried a slim folder. A curated trap exactly as planned. The brunch hummed with small talk. Coffee cups clicked. My mother found the perfect moment, a toast about family, and raised her glass to praise Emily for being so selfless. Everyone clapped. Emily beamed, reclining into the warm light of other people's approval. That's when I stood. My voice was steady, practiced, the way I'd rehearsed it 100 times in my head. "Thank you," I said. "There's something I want to share." The room quieted. Daniel's hand found mine, surprised but trusting. I asked the host to dim the lights and connected the journalist's laptop to the TV, under the pretense of showing wedding photos. On the screen, instead of cake shots, appeared emails, bank transfers, and scanned documents, each clearly labeled, each time-stamped. The image of the forged insurance transfer filled the screen. The quiet in the room tightened like a noose. Mom's smile didn't falter at first. She was calm, practiced. "Clara, this is unnecessary," she purred, a hand to her chest. "You must be mistaken." I clicked to the next slide, a voicemail recording of Mom telling Emily, "Don't worry, sweetheart. She won't find out about the papers." The little clip played. Margaret's voice, casual, assuring, and unmistakable. The air in the room shifted. Conversations died. A cousin asked, Is this real?" The lawyer stood and explained, in a calm voice that carried forged documents, deliberate misallocation of gifts, the pattern of transfers. He said the words I'd only whispered in my sleep. Coordinated plan. Family fraud. Witnesses available. Emily's face went from smug to slack. She opened her mouth and closed it. Mom's pearls looked suddenly fragile. The journalist, efficient, unsentimental, asked if she could speak to a few people for a piece. Within minutes, a few guests whispered into phones. A cousin filmed the screen. Daniel's parents sat frozen, protective instinct finally overriding embarrassment. Mom reached for a defense. Charm, deflection, blame. But the paper trail didn't care about charm. Texts flashed on the screen showing Emily's excited messages about making sure Clara doesn't notice. Bank records showed temporary beneficiary changes, and signatures revealed the forgery. A neighbor I'd quietly lined up confirmed noticing Emily driving the Lexus the week before. When the lawyer suggested we hand the evidence to a local mediator or, if needed, pursue legal action, Mom's voice turned thin. She tried to bargain, to cry, to make it seem like a misunderstanding. Emily started to cry too. Not sobs that asked forgiveness, but the high-pitched panic of someone whose script had been ripped away. Security didn't need to be called. The family meeting dissolved into 1,000 small exiles, hushed conversations, a few furious whispered confrontations, and then silence. Daniel stood and put his arms around me, not because I needed rescue, but because he understood what I had done. Relief washed over me, hot and immediate. They had thought they were untouchable. Instead, they were exposed. Each lie a light bulb flicked on in a dark room. As people filtered out, some offering awkward condolences, some offering quiet support, I sat very still and watched my mother's face, watched Emily's shoulders slump. The Lexus keys sat in my clutch like a promise reclaimed. The climax was not thunderous. It was surgical, inevitable, and clean. The kind of ending that leaves no room for polite smiles. The day after the brunch, the house felt emptier than ever. Mom hadn't called. Emily hadn't texted. For the first time in my life, the golden child was invisible. And it was liberating. The Lexus was back in my name, parked in the driveway like a trophy reclaimed. But the victory wasn't the car. It was the proof that truth, patience, and strategy could undo years of manipulation. Friends, colleagues, even Daniel's parents reached out, impressed, relieved, and in awe of the calm precision I'd shown. I wasn't just Clara Hayes, the obedient daughter anymore. I was Clara Hayes, the woman who had silently rebuilt her own power and delivered justice without raising her voice. Emily tried to reach me once, sending a flurry of texts full of apologies, excuses, and bitter justifications. I didn't respond. The lesson had been learned. Actions, not words, define character. And she had shown hers to the world. Mom remained silent, her warm smiles replaced with cautious, calculating stares whenever we saw each other at family gatherings. It was subtle but unmistakable. Her authority over me had evaporated. For the first time, I could interact with my family on my own terms. No guilt, no manipulation, no favors demanded or stolen. I spent the next few weeks focusing on what mattered. Daniel. Our life together and rebuilding trust in myself. I started a small business designing interiors, leveraging the confidence and resources I'd quietly gathered. Business boomed because I wasn't just talented. I was fearless, disciplined, and wise to people's hidden intentions. Every time I drove the Lexus, I thought about the golden smiles of Mom and Emily at the wedding, the smugness that had so arrogantly assumed my compliance. And I smiled, not in anger, but in satisfaction. There is a particular kind of poetic justice that doesn't shout. It whispers quietly in the smallest victories. Mom and Emily had refused to open the gift of honesty, integrity, and fairness. And in doing so, they delivered the ultimate lesson to themselves. So here it is. Viewers, betrayal can feel crushing, even life-altering. But patience, preparation, and self-respect are more powerful than anger. When the time is right, karma doesn't need to yell. It arrives quietly with precision and leaves no doubt who deserved what all along. If you've ever faced betrayal, comment below, share your story. I read everyone, and if you love watching justice served, the kind that's clever, precise, and undeniably satisfying, Unsubscribe for more true-to-life revenge stories that give goosebumps and make you believe in the power of rising above.